Shorekeeper is basically our wife in Wuthering Waves that stays home and waits for us to come back from our work every single day. Isn't she just a lovely of a character? Well, because she does not just looks great with good personality, but all the things that she does in the game is absolutely amazing up until this point. She's technically the go-to character in basically every team build that we have in the game currently. So Shorekeeper is going to be coming back soon. We're going to be having a video discussing about her in today's video, as well as looking into some of her good sequence, because I know that many of you are probably thinking to whether or not invest more into her or save for future characters. Asterites, admit it, I know you all love this shiny gems. Your favorite Wuthering Waves character requires this, but well, you're out of asterites. What do you do now? Well, of course, we tend to swipe our cards, however, that can be quite expensive, doesn't it? But thanks to Loot Bar, our sponsor for today's video, we have an even better way for you guys to top up for Wuthering Waves. If you know me, I've been recommending you guys Loot Bar before, since you can always save almost a 23% on all of your top-ups. With over 100,000 orders and so many good reviews at this point in time, you can be sure that Loot Bar is trustworthy. And by the way, this also applies to PS5 and Xbox user who can place orders through Loot Bar. To demonstrate to you, I've been topping up my Wuwa account through Loot Bar, buying the highest Wuwa package. You go through the checkout process, then they will ask you to fill your account information. After completing, you will have a direct message notifying that they are hopping in to top up for you. Then voila, you're done. Here you can see my order receipt. I've topped up Genshin Impact with Loot Bar many times before, so I can be sure that they are safe. So guys, be sure to check out Loot Bar through the link in my description, as it can be a great way for you to save money, especially if you are topping up a large amount in Wuthering Waves. So at this point, I'm pretty sure you guys know what she basically does, but to sum it all up, she has the ability to provide your team a 12.5% crit rate increase with a 25% crit damage increase to all of your characters. So the crit ratio increase is already insane, but the fact that she is actually doing it for your whole freaking teams is just absolutely incredible, because your sub DPS character is also getting buff as well. Other than that, you're getting healing from her, as well as a bit of quality of life in terms of resistance to knockback and stuff like that. That's not the most important, but with the crit ratio increase as well as healing capability, with the access to very good echo set of rejuvenating set, she's basically an absolute beast when it comes to your team building. I can't think of the reason why any kind of top teams doesn't want to have her, unless you're building a team where there's like 2 DPS character with a sub DPS character like Brand or Cantarella that has access to healing, and you're playing around with that kind of team. So basically it's more or less she being a Verena, but an updated version of that as well. So those are basically overview. Now let's look into her sequence, and that's mainly going to be her 2 first sequence, which is S1 and S2. Because as I've mentioned before, I'm pretty sure many of us already have Shorekeeper, but if you haven't got Shorekeeper, you're probably going to be trying to invest into her. So what her S1 does is more or less going to be the quality of life increase. First of all, it extends her Liberation Circle by 150%, which is nice. Now, considering her Liberation Circle at an S0 level is already pretty huge, most of the time you don't really have any problem. The only time when I do find a lot of problem is when you're dealing with hologram bosses that actually moves around a lot. That's when I say many of the time the bosses does go outside her circle, which makes it a little bit tough for you to position. So with this, it actually ensures that basically I say over 90% of the time you won't be going into that problem as well. Other than that, her Liberation timer is extended by 10 seconds. Now her Stellar Realm duration already goes off for 30 seconds. With an extra 10 seconds, now it's basically a 40. Most of the time you don't really have trouble with her Stellar Realm duration running out, unless you're having trouble with a bit of your rotation, or if you want to do longer rotation. So if this is the case, it does ensure that most of the time her Liberation is always going to be on until your DPS character finishes whatever that they are trying to do. Because sometimes when you're doing higher level hologram bosses, that's where I've been in situations where I have to dodge a lot from the bosses and don't have the window to actually do damage just yet. So that will actually ensure your DPS character the enough windows to everything that have the exact buff of Shorekeeper, which is a really nice quality of life. And other than that, whenever you cast her intro skill, that you know, her special intro skill, whenever you use her intro skill, your Liberation won't end, which I don't think that's too much of a problem, because whenever you switch into Shorekeeper again, it's almost going to be her doing her liberation setup once again. So that's not too bad. So that's S1 in terms of quality of life. But when it comes to S2, holy damn, you're getting an extra 40% increase attack for your whole team, not just your active character. She's providing that to your whole team, which of course does include herself whenever she is doing intro skill damage as well. It's a very simple sequence, but it actually allows you to have pretty nice attack increase, and considering that many characters at this point still skills with attack, this is definitely a very valuable sequence for you to have. Other type of investment that you can do to your Shorekeeper is definitely going to be her weapon. Now her weapon is definitely made for her because it has energy regen increase. Just to make sure that you need to have 250% energy regen built onto Shorekeeper to make sure that you have the maximum buff increase of your crit rate and crit damage. So having a 77% energy regen increase from her signature is actually pretty easy. Other than that, you get 8 consultant energy for Shorekeeper whenever you cast her liberation, and whenever you use her skill, your party members also get a 14% attack increase as well, which is overall a pretty comfy weapon for you to use. However, she does have a very nice free-to-play option, and that's going to be the variation at R5. Now, if you've been playing the game for quite some time, you should have a couple of variation copy because this weapon is rather good with Shorekeeper. It gives energy regen, which is something I need, but more importantly, the consultant energy, which is also something that she really requires for you to use as well. So if you're looking into it, Shorekeeper is definitely a very free-to-play friendly character. And so those are some of the investment that we definitely would like to look into at the current point of Shorekeeper's rerun, considering that many of us already have a Shorekeeper. Now, first thing I would say when it comes to investment of Shorekeeper, generally speaking, we definitely would love to get a weapon in Wuthering Wave, because especially for Shorekeeper, her weapon does allow her to get to that 250 energy regen amount very easily. Other than that, with an extra 14% attack increase for your team, and that's overall very nice. But other than that, with Wuwa, it's basically a guaranteed weapon whenever you hit the 5 stars, so getting the signature weapon of your desired character is actually very easy compared to you trying to get your 5-star or sequence. So honestly, definitely before we investing into any kind of sequence, that is going to be the case of you trying to get the weapon. However, there are cases when you are feeling fine with the variation onto Shorekeeper and you're looking into having more quality of life for your Shorekeeper, which is, you know, S1 at the very least, or if you want to invest further, that's going to be an S2, because in Wuthering Wave you also have access to those kind of corals that you stack up whenever you have been doing pulls for a long time, and you can actually buy the sequence node of the character in the shop as well. So for example, if you already have enough sequence node to actually buy one of her sequence and you're trying to go for up to an S2 Shorekeeper, that's also something for you to consider as well. And I think that's also a good decision for you to try and make, because a free-to-play weapon of variation Shorekeeper and her being an S2 is definitely going to be with her signature at an S0 level, correct? But that's definitely when you're in the cases of you having enough coral save up and you have enough pool for you to try to go for. Because while at the end of the day, if you're looking into it, from my experience of using Shorekeeper at an S0 level with her signature, I feel that she's already absolutely enough, especially when many of the DPS characters are quite powerful, and we also have the release of basically sub DPS or, you know, partial DPS character that have access to healing while also doing pretty good number like Brad and Cantarella, who has just been recently released. So definitely investing more into Shorekeeper, you getting her sequence is definitely not going to be needed, especially when we're looking at this S2. It's a 40% increase, which is good, but it focuses on to your attack buffing. So basically it focuses on DPS character that skill with attack. However, there are chances of character that, you know, for example like Brad, who skills with energy regen, or later on character that skill with HP percentage down the line that probably won't be able to make too much use of S2 Shorekeeper, which means that it's also a wiser choice for you to just save up your asterite currently and then wait for future character for you guys to invest in. Which of course, discussing about future character potential is definitely a thing, because, you know, at this point we know that Zani and Shikona is going to be coming in our next patch, and we also don't know which rerun character is going to be there just yet as well. And I know that especially Zani is a character that many of us has been waiting for, and we don't know her exact kit just yet. We still have to wait for the next Wuwa live streams in order for us to get more information about these characters, but definitely Zani is going to be a character that everyone going to be sorting out for, which is why investing into Shorekeeper a lot at this point may cost you Zani pools. With that being said, Zani is most likely going to be kind of like a DPS character again, because at this point in time we're having quite a lot of DPS character. I don't think we're going to be having very dedicated support character like Shorekeeper anytime being released soon. Maybe Shikona will have access to some kind of supportive power, but definitely in terms of dedicated support character, Shorekeeper is basically the best character in the game for quite a long time. That's not to say that, you know, Verena is not a very good character, right? Verena is still an amazing character that you can use on many of your team. However, the game still requires you to have two teams running alongside, especially in, you know, TOA or Whimpering Wave event. Then having both Shorekeeper and Verena on your account is definitely good, and especially if you're looking into investing into Shorekeeper, she's going to be staying relevant for a very long time. So yeah, your asterite is not going anywhere, whereas, you know, investing into your DPS character, it's basically your preference, because DPS character can be replaced many of the time, while supportive character has their value very long. So personally, something I would do if I were in your shoes, and if you've already got a Shorekeeper at an S0 level, first of all, I would actually try to get her weapon if you haven't already, and then at this point in time, I just go ahead and probably save for future characters if you don't want to risk too much of your asterite pooling for her sequence. However, obviously, if you do have sequence to spare, you have more corals, save up like I do. I already have enough coral for a sequence 1 of Shorekeeper. I'll probably just go ahead and get her S1 and try to go for her S2, and then basically wish my luck and try to get Zani. That's basically what I'll be doing at this current point, but definitely different account will have different situations. So if you do have any question, guys, leave it down in the comment section, and I or some other lovely Wuwa player will get to you there. I think that's all I have to say regarding Shorekeeper at this point in time. I hope that you found the video helpful, guys. If you're new to the channel, guys, don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on my future Wuthering Wave videos. I really appreciate you guys staying with me to this part of the video, and with that, I wish you guys a super day, and I'll catch you on my next video.